Hi everyone, and welcome to PR Your Mobility. I'm Rachel Martin. I'm one of the owners of PR Performance Fitness, and today's topic is mobility, how well you move. And the thing about mobility is that there are two different types. There's soft tissue mobility, and then there's mobility of your joints. So today I wanted to talk about the mobility of your joints because I feel like we all know a little bit more about the soft tissue work, manual release therapy, trigger points, foam rolling, all of that, but rarely do I see, except in the physical therapy world, mobility through your joints. So today we're going to use some resistance bands to show you what are called banded distractions. Before I get to that, I want to show you an illustration that may get you to buy into why mobility through your joint is so important. So this is my best drawing of what could be a knee. We have two bones here, your femur and tibia. And then in between, what I want you to pay attention to is the synovial fluid. This is in pink. You have ligaments connecting to the side, tendons connecting up to your quad muscle up top. What happens is that over time, whether it's repetitive stress, poor movement patterns, like a bad squat, these surfaces that tend to move over top of each other, called articulating surfaces, rub together, really wearing down on your bone. And this fluid becomes erased or very minimal. What happens then is that this all becomes very inflamed, red, and your tendons also very inflamed, swollen, and can cause acute pain. It can also cause, over time, conditions like arthritis. You may have to get a knee replacement, for example, and those are things that we really want to avoid, right? So here's the thing, we can do the soft tissue work, again, foam rolling, using lacrosse balls, all of that to really get the mobility in the soft tissue. And then stretching is super important to retain or regain that length in the tissue. But lastly, joint distraction. So it's really a three-pronged process to restore or to PR your mobility. So here today I want to show you one example of a banded distraction. This is to restore extension through your hip. You'll notice a difference, especially athletes, in how you squat, how you run, being able to produce more power through hip extension. But it's also really good for you office workers that are sitting down all day and you have tight hip flexors. So let's come over to the board. Okay, so here we have a monster loop. It's just a super strong resistance band. You can anchor this at home. I'm just gonna tie a small loop here around our squat rack. And then you just feed one end through to the other side. So a joint distraction is basically any tool, again in this case we're using a band, to provide a wedge to allow more movement through your joint and decompress it. So here all we're going to do is step through. Once you get through, you're going to kneel, going to have a pad to provide a little cushion. And then I'm gonna scoot back to allow some space here. So now my knee's pretty far back. The band is pulling my hip forward. I'm pushing my hip forward, keeping a pretty neutral spine. Here's my stretch. I can feel it pull all the way up my quadricep into my hip flexors and even running up through my abs. Now from this point, there are a couple different techniques that may work for you. One, just holding it. Two, you can do what's called a contract and release, where I squeeze my glutes to allow more length in my hip flexors. And this is called autogenic inhibition. Basically using the opposite muscle to help lengthen the front side. And then I can even use my arms and lengthen through my lats my obliques. But once you do that, you want to play around with it for at least 30 seconds. I usually say if you need it, you probably want to stay a lot longer and let the band really do the work. Okay, so that's one example of a band of distraction. Hope to see you guys next time on PR Your Mobility.